Welcome to episode 57 of Bee's Travelogue. I thought I had seen all the prettiest places in southern South Korea, but every time I went on another trip, I was surprised. In September, I took the bus to Suncheon, which was about 2.5 hours away from Mokpo. As soon as I arrived, I took the local bus to go to Nagan, Eupseong folk village. In Jeju, I had been disappointed that I didn't have more time to explore the folk village there. So when I found out that there was a folk village not too far from me, I decided to go there. Nagan Eupseong is about 20 kilometers west of Suncheon, and it took about an hour by local bus. The bus stop was very close to the village entrance, so it was very easy for me to walk there and get inside. As soon as I entered the village, I heard music and headed straight for the direction of the sound. I found a group practicing for a concert later. So once I had seen them for a little bit, I started exploring. The village is one of the oldest and best preserved folk villages in South Korea. It was built in 1397 in the very beginning of the Joseon area and is still being lived in today. Around 100 families still make the village their home today. I was surprised to see this real horse in an area where you could buy slushies and some other snacks. I then came to a long line of these funny-faced totem poles. They're called Eupseong and were usually placed at the entrances to villages. They were guarding the villages against evil spirits and protected the villagers. There were a lot of gardens and fruit trees in this village. I saw a lot of fruits I had never seen before. I had walked through the village and reached the eastern end. Here I climbed the wall and then walked on top of the wall all the way to the western entrance gate. The western gate is where I had entered the village to begin with. I had to come down from the wall and go over to the other side and then climb back up. I walked all the way north and then headed eastward again. From the wall, I had a beautiful view of the entire village, as well as the mountains in the background. The thatched roof of the houses is made from rice stalks. The roofs need to be replaced every 1 to 3 years because they get wet during the monsoon season. However, they're very good at regulating the temperature inside the houses. They keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer. When I reached about the middle of the northern wall, I came to this area near a lotus pond. There were steps leading down from the wall, so I walked around and explored this area a little bit further. I discovered lots of pretty gardens and also lots of vegetables being grown. I then climbed back up on the wall. I was looking for some steps that I had seen from the distance. Along the way, I noticed this tree with interesting blossoms and strange-looking fruit that I couldn't identify. I later found out that these were Korean chestnuts. I found the steps I'd seen from a distance and climbed them. They didn't have a railing, so it was a little bit scary, but the view from up top was really beautiful. At the top of the stairs was construction, so I had to turn back around and go back to the bottom, where I found houses with scenes from a K-drama. I didn't recognize the actors on these photos, so I'm not sure which K-drama was filmed here. But apparently a lot of historical dramas were filmed in Nagan Eupseong. This part of the village was more like an open-air museum. You could enter some of the houses and also see some of the equipment that was used in the old days. Some of the houses contained photos that demonstrated how some of the equipment was being used. I loved wandering down the streets, which were usually framed by stone walls, and exploring the different alleys. In some houses, people were really living. There were cars in the front yard, so that was a very different experience. I finally came to one house where rice was being grown, I think as an example for visitors to see what it looked like. Here's a mortar to see how rice was being ground into flour, and an outdoor cooking area. There were many beautiful flowers and lots of butterflies around the village. My final stop in the village was the Lotus Pond, where they had some figures standing in the lake to demonstrate how they used to catch fish. It was lunchtime and I had the choice of either staying for the concert or returning to Suncheon. And I decided I wanted to get back to Suncheon and explore the National Garden. I left the village in search of lunch but didn't see anything that was appealing, so I stopped in a cafe for chocolate cake. Afterwards, I waited for the bus, and I must have waited for over an hour. A young Korean couple finally stopped with their car and said they had seen me waiting for such a long time if they could give me a ride. I ended up taking up their offer. I just got in the car with them because I was tired of waiting. It was a young man and his wife who was 7 months pregnant. Their limited English was better than my Korean. We understood each other, and I found out that they were on their final vacation together before having the baby. They also asked me where I was going next and insisted on dropping me off at the entrance to the National Garden. I hadn't really known what to expect, but I was very pleasantly surprised by what I found in the garden. First of all, it was huge. I didn't even know on the first day how large it was. First, I looked with everyone else at the man-made mountains in the center from where we entered, and then I walked to the biodome. On the way, I stopped looking at many beautiful flowers, especially zinnias. I had seen a similar biodome in one of the K-dramas and had wondered what it was, but now I could recognize the design with walkways on the ground and then leading up through the inner structure. There were banana trees and palm trees. There was an indoor waterfall and steps leading up to the next level, so that we actually ended up walking behind the waterfall for a little while. There were quite a few plants I had never seen before, so walking around and exploring the building was a lot of fun. I thought this next tree with the spiky trunk was really interesting. When I left the biodome, I briefly headed south. From there, I headed first toward the Thai garden and then the Japanese garden. After having been to Thailand, I wasn't too impressed with this representation of Thailand, but the Japanese garden was really pretty. There were beautiful small trees and shaped bushes and lots of stones on pathways and scattered around. Then there was this beautiful tree and a view over most of the garden. Since I was planning to spend only this one evening at the park or at the garden, I decided to skip a few things and see the most important spots. That led me to the central lake and the artificial hills built around it. I really like this crane and also the walkways leading in between the hills. They made me think of Oz, as in The Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy walking on the yellow brick road. Except here the road was either white or blue. Here was a yellow beetle, which was near the German garden. As I was climbing the central hill, I saw that a thunderstorm was approaching. I could see the rain in the distance, so I very quickly came down from the hill and tried to find some shelter. If you've watched the K-drama Yumi's Cells, you'll recognize these characters. It's a very cute show. I waited under these umbrellas until the shower passed. I was generally heading westward to what looked like a spaceship bridge. Along the way, I stopped at some beautiful flower gardens where everything was glittering with the recent raindrops. I passed more interesting structures but didn't have time to stop because I wasn't sure how much time I had until the garden closed. The flowers and plants in this area were absolutely beautiful, and with the shower having passed, suddenly the sunlight was breaking through again. Leaving the flowers behind, I came to the river. I was heading toward the spaceship bridge, and for the first time now I started seeing the sunset. The spaceship bridge turned out really interesting. It was full of mirrors and light shows and plants and videos about the wildlife. It was an artwork in and of itself, a very modern one. My favorite color is blue, so this next section of the bridge was really special to me. When I left space and the galaxy behind and emerged on the other side, I was greeted with the most wonderful view. Behind the mountain in the distance, the sun's rays were peeking through. I walked through grass and fields of flowers toward the mountain. The lighting was amazing. It was a soft, pastel-colored glow. I think the vertical picture with the pine tree is one of my favorites, but I also really like all the ones with the flowers in the front. By the time I got to what turned out to be at Swan Lake, most of the yellow had disappeared from the sky and it was more of an orange, pink, purple and blue sunset and reflection. In this area I had noticed a sky train, but they were closing up for the night, so I had missed my chance to go on this train. As I was walking home, I found out more about it and decided to come back the next day to explore the garden further and use the SkyTrain to go to the reed fields. I had heard about the UNESCO reed fields and had wanted to go see animals in the mud, but I didn't really know how to get there. So finding this sky train from the garden was really a bit of good luck. It made everything so much easier. As night fell and the garden lit up, it was very beautiful. It looked like a magical landscape. I headed to the front gate and from there to the bus stop, and remember having to wait for a while before the bus showed up, but it took me home, so that was all that mattered. I hope you'll join me for episode 58 and my Reedfield adventures. Thank you for watching.